Hey, what's going on YouTube? MechlordGames here today with a deck profile for Mekk-Knights. I really like this archetype. It's really fun and it's really unique. So all the Mekk-Knights have the summon condition of if two or more cards are in the same column, you can special summon them to that column. If you're not familiar with what a column is, it's more than likely because you haven't heard that term in the game before because no other decks really used this mechanic. A column is from your spell and trap card zone forward to their column, and you have 5 columns on the field. So that's how it works. If they have one card in their column and you have none in the same column, put down a spell and trap card in the column, then you can summon a monster to that column. Or if they have 2 monsters in the same, well, if they have a monster in the column as well as a spell, you can go ahead and summon it to that column without having to place anything. So coordinating your positioning of your back row compared to theirs is really key. So getting into the deck and the monsters. Purple Dusk. This is one of the best monsters in this deck by far. With your field spell out, he's a 2800 beat stick. He's a really big guy, really hard to get over and get around against the new Magician Pendulums and their new support with Time Pendulum Graph. You can try to Time Pendulum Graph this guy all day, but his effect is very nice. So as a quick effect, you can target a Mekk-Knight monster and banish it until the next standby phase of your next turn, and if you do, add one Mekk-Knight monster from deck to your hand. So if the banish resolves, you get to search a Mekk-Knight monster. So it is great. It gets you your other pieces to play. And he is exquisitely good, and he's the biggest beat stick in the deck. Then we have Azure Blue. Now, his effect is also a quick effect, like Purple Dusk. But instead, Azure Blue is very useful. He moves the monster you control to another one of your main monster zones. So you don't need to be using any links or anything because it'll shut him down and he won't really be able to move other monsters to where they need to be. So the way this guy works and how this works with the deck is if there's a zone you can summon him to, summon himself to it, then use his effect to move himself to another column. Then you can summon another monster. So then basically you get 2 summons and then use his effect and you move him. Also, if you notice that if you notice that you're in a mirror match and you have him in a column as the same card you have, you can move him to a column that doesn't, and that'll make it to where your opponent has to play something in that column to summon something to that column. And sometimes that's hard to do, especially if you're in the top deck, or that's going to be a problem. But he makes space for you to keep summoning cards, and that's why he is so good. Next, the Crimson Lotus. This monster is probably one of the best. Well, this monster is one of the best ones. You can banish Mekk-Knight monsters from your graveyard and target one face-up monster on the field in the column and destroy it. I wish it was a quick effect, but it's not. If it was a quick effect, this deck would actually be a hell of a lot more broken than it is. It's a pretty strong deck and pretty powerful, and it's absolutely an awesome card. Just being able to get rid of cards and banish stuff from your grave is pretty nice. Then we have Yellow Bloom. Similar to Crimson Lotus, it's got the same effect of where it banishes a card from the graveyard. However, this destroys a spell or trap in the column, not a monster. So, if your opponent has something in the backboard set, go ahead and summon this and then just pop it. Super good. And if this one has one of the best defenses of the deck. And then we come out to the best searcher in the deck. His name is Mekk-Knight of the Blue Sky. Now, what he does is he is a searcher, but he doesn't have a quick effect like Purple Dusk. Blue Sky, if he's normal or special summoned, you get to add Mekk-Knight monsters with different names from your deck up to the number of cards in the column he's summoned to. So if your opponent, it's based on the amount of cards your opponent controls. So if they have 2 cards in the column and you summon it, you get to search out 2 monsters. And that is absolutely amazing. Summon this guy to the board, search 2 monsters. Fantastic. You can combo this off of Purple Dusk. You summon Purple Dusk, search out Blue Sky, summon and if you have this in your hand, you summon Azure Blue. You move Azure Blue to another column, then you summon Blue Sky. Blue Sky gets searches. And then you get to get 2 others. So you could get so then off this you get Crimson Lotus and Yellow Blue. That's like the best setup play you could actually get. If you start off with these 2, you have access to these 3 right here. If your opponent actually has monsters on, well, a monster and a spell in the same zone. So that's how that works. Then we are running 3 Ash Blossom to obviously negate searching. 2 Ghost Ogres. I'm still shuffling between having this at 3. I really like Ghost Ogre, and it's really effective in a lot of situations. And Ghost Ogre honestly has saved my ass so many times in games. I really love this card. Maxi, obviously, standard. Raigeki for board wipes. This doesn't come up very much, but when you do get it, like, you use it after you summon your monsters to the board. So then you wipe their board of monsters, and then you can just poke for a lot of damage. 2 Plotted Desires. I'm honestly thinking of bumping this card to 3 just because I want to consistently see my field spell as much as possible, because the field spell is amazing in this deck. It's what makes your monsters beaters. And then 1 Soul Charge. This is great for the main point of this deck. 3 Terraforming, obviously to get that field spell. 3 Key to the World Legacies. Now this card is very awesome. So when it's activated, you target one of the banished Jack-Knight monsters or World Legacy cards and add it to your hand. So if you have a banished World Legacy spell or trap, you can get it back. But if you have a banished monster, which you'll be banishing monsters for Yellow Bloom and Crimson Lotus, you'll be able to get them back to your hand with Key to the World Legacy, which will just open up more plays and more options. So Key to the World Legacy is really good. And then when an opponent's trap card or effect is activated in the same column as a Jack-Knight monster you control, resolves, negate the effect. So if there's a trap in the same zone as one of your monsters, it's negated. Then we have Scars Caused by the World Legacy, the field spell. All Jack-Knight monsters gain 300 attack and defense. Once per turn, you can discard 1 Jack-Knight monster or World Legacy card and draw 1 card. The second effect you'll never use, but if you play a build with a lot of the if you play a build with all the Jack-Knight monsters, you can banish 8 Jack-Knights with different names from your graveyard or face up from your field, and send all cards in your opponent's hand and extra deck to the graveyard. So it's a powerful effect, but you'll never use it. But the first effect, the discard to draw, is really, really useful. It allows you to set up the graveyard for a Lotus play or a Yellow Bloom play, depending on what they have in their board. Then 3 Whisper of the World Legacy. When it's activated, target a level 5 or higher monster in the field, and it gains 1000 attack and defense until the end of the turn, even if it leaves the field. Now, when an opponent's spell card or effect is activated in the same column as a Jack-Knight monster, it's negated. Then you have True Depths of the World Legacy. Target 1 level 5 or higher monster in your graveyard and special summon it. When this card leaves the field, destroy that monster. When an opponent's monster effect activated in the same column as a Jack-Knight monster you control, resolves, and negate the effect. So, True Depths, broken ass card. Whisper, like if you get Key, Whisper, and True Depths, it massively fucks over your opponent. And the Soul Charge just fills your board. Like if you have boards, like if you have open slots left and you can activate Soul Charge, bring back 2 more Jack-Knights, and then lock them out. Completely lock them out of the game. The monsters are going to be big enough for them to not be able to run over. They won't be able to use effects, and it's just an instant shit on you. So that's kind of the main purpose of Jack-Knights, is to get these cards out. And plus, we're running so many copies of each of these because you want to get these into your zones as much as possible to be able to play your monsters. Because you want to be able to set up as many plays as you can, considering like you get Purple Dusk, you go into Blue Sky, you summon this, get Blue Sky out. If you can search 2, you search 2, then you get Crimson and Yellow to play these, and you just do a lot of damage. It's really good. And then for our extra deck, we are running Ghost Cherries, so our cherry targets like Merkaba, ABC Dragon Buster, even Cyframe Lord Omegas. If that ever comes up in a game and you're playing a match against someone and they have Omega, you can snipe out Omega, even the Double Helix. But so we're running 2 Omegas because we can make them. It's just not very often that we actually do. Stardust Dragon, just in case we ever need to make it, but chances are no. I do use 107 and Full Armor Photon Dragon, just in case I need to beat over something really huge. Like if I'm playing against Blue Eyes and it's a Chaos Max build, then I'll need a way to get over Blue Eyes, and this is a good way to do it, is getting into Full Armor Photon Dragon. So you just pop the card on the board and then you get to attack. And if they have Chaos Max, you just attack at a Chaos Max, crash the 2, kill the damn dragon, and get it over with. Number 38, I don't make this card very much, but it's pretty good. You can use it to negate spells, and it's pretty nice. The 107 is pretty much just for the full armor Photon Dragon. Lancelot, I've made this card before. It can hurt you, so don't expect to make like you can still use your summon effects, but you can't use Azure and use Azure to move, because then Lancelot will negate it. So you have to be careful about that. I've made Red Ice Flare Metal a lot. You use Lotus and Bloom to make Flare Metal, and it just makes your opponent's life a little bit rougher, and it makes it hard on them. Dracosac, I like Dracosac actually. I pretty much make this just as a way to, like, if I need to stall, I can stall. But I use this as just destruction and being able to clear boards, because Dracosac's effect, you summon tokens and then tribute the tokens to pop cards. So it's really useful. And then 2 of the Jack Knight of the World Scars. You really honestly only need 1, because I never even summoned this guy, but it's pretty strong. If there are no other cards in the same column as this card, it can attack directly. If this card in the extra monster zone does not point to a monster, it cannot be destroyed by card effects. So if it's alone in a column and there's nothing in it, it can't be destroyed, it can't be targeted, and it can attack directly. And it becomes a 3300 beater with scars on the board. And then you can send one other card you control in this card's column to the graveyard and special summon one Jack Knight monster from your deck in defense position. So it's really good. You can get rid of cards in your column, which is sweet. So you can just get rid of useless cards you don't need in the column and just make stuff happen. And then one Gaia Saber. I was actually playing Gofu in the deck to be able to make Gaia Saber and just have a 2600 beater, which was nice, and it worked when I did, but it wasn't anything like super fantastic. And then like the double Helix as the cherry target. Same with the Merkaba, the Dragon Buster. Now for the side deck, obviously we have 3 Ghost Reaper and 3 Droll and Lockbird. This deck is actually pretty strong, so like these will help against the meta decks, and you'll shit on a lot of the meta. If you go up against Spirals and you neg out their Helix, there's not really much that they're going to be able to do. Like, they're going to try to sleeper you, but you have answers. Like, you can get around Sleeper, so Sleeper's not a problem. And then 3 Cosmic Cyclone as answers to Spiral matches. Get rid of their Resort. Like, you want to get rid of Resort and just keep it gone. 3 Evenly Matched, since you oftentimes are going to go second. So, like, you want to go second with this deck, and struggling, Evenly Matched is really good. At the end of the battle phase, if your opponent controls more cards than you, you can make your opponent banish cards from their field face down, so they control the same number of cards as you do. And if you're going second, and you have this in your hand, if you control no cards, you can activate this. So if you're going second, boom, you're just evenly matched, and they're done for. They just clear their board out because they have nothing. Like, you have nothing and they have everything, so their whole board is just gone. Everything they did is just gone. And then for the Pendulum matches, when you end up against Magicians, Anti-Spell Fragrance is the best way to beat Magicians. So this completely shits on the Pendulum Magician matches. They won't be able to do anything to you. Although this does kind of hurt you because it won't allow you to set up Scars or Key. But if you're against the Pendulum match and you're siding these in, you're going to want to be going first so that you try to get into Anti-Spell Fragrance. In which case, having 3 Power Desires main decked would be a good thing to do. So I would contemplate putting a 3rd Desires in for that reason. But for now, this deck is really solid. It's really good. I've been enjoying this a lot. I had a Pendulum match earlier, completely wrecked the guy. He kept trying to use Time Pendulum Graph, and I just Jack Knighted away from the Time Pendulum Graph because Jack's a quick play. So he kept trying to get over Jack, and I was just, nope, search, nope, search. And then I Max-C'd him, and he just let me have this huge board, and he didn't actually get to kill me because I had I had purple on the board after when I Max-C'd. It took him so much to get over Purple Knight that it was ridiculous. He didn't make too many things because he had like he set up Time Star, and he wasn't playing for links. Like he didn't link summon things, so it made it really hard for him to continue playing around the deck. So yeah, I beat him because he didn't link, but he wouldn't have killed me with what he summoned out. There wasn't anything that he would have done that would have actually killed me, and the next turn I would have just wiped the floor with him because I had so much stuff in hand because of how many summons he did. So it was pretty sweet. So thank you guys for watching. This deck is a lot of fun. It's really strong. I suggest you guys check it out. It's very fun, but it takes skill to play. So I will see you guys in the next video.